This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Joviet. Tonight we're answering questions about VA claims and security clearances. In our area we have a lot of veterans, so we're going to address issues especially for you. We're going to talk about things like veterans benefits, why it's so difficult dealing with the VA. What do you do if they deny your claim? Is there a way, and what's the best way to appeal? But we are also going to be talking about security clearances. How do you get them? How do you avoid getting in trouble with them? What's required? This is important for many people with jobs on the arsenal and our local defense industry, so it's your chance to learn all about VA claims and security clearances. Michael Timberlake's here from Timberlake & League. You do personal injury cases, but you brought along with you an excellent expert.
Yeah, we've got the guy in our area for this for these topics, and we're really pleased to have him. Ron Siskus is here with us.
Michael, you're too kind.
Well, you're not only a vet, but you've been doing this security clearances and veterans disability benefits for a good while,
right.
Correct?
Long time.
Yeah,
long time.
Well, thanks for coming on the show
Well, I
tonight.
appreciate it, Michael. Sharon, nice to see you.
Glad to have you here. We do have a lot of veterans. So veterans in the Huntsville metro area, we had some numbers that there's over 39,800 ex-service members in our area. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's 11% of the population, which is pretty incredible. 25% are from the Vietnam era, which are,
Wow.
That's your area, correct?
It's a little, predates me a little bit.
And we know that of VA claims, 73% of veterans have received VA benefits. That's a high statistic, and only 46% say the VA is doing a good job. Does that surprise you, Ron?
That doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
You know, for veterans, every service member knows what hurry up and wait means.
Yeah.
And that's really apropos for VA claims.
How long does it take typically once you, I guess from the point you file?
I'd probably say, so if someone files a VA claim, you got maybe a 10 to 15% chance of it being granted immediately.
Okay.
The rest, I've had veterans wait 10 years. That
Wow.
wouldn't be uncommon. So,
Wow.
4 or 5 years, it's a long slog. Because if the VA goes down this road of denying you, you can appeal and appeal and
Yeah.
appeal. And there are very short, as lawyers, you appreciate statute of limitations. Shortest statute of limitations going, very fast.
For the appeal. So what's the limit?
Like 60 days.
Okay.
And then a year, so there's
Wow.
very short limitations.
Yeah.
For your PI case, you got 2 years.
2 years.
Pretty much. VA is very fast.
Wow.
And all these are for applications that are filed after somebody's been discharged from the military or been...
Yeah, after they've been discharged. A common thing that service members want to do is, hey, the military messed me over while I'm in the military and still in the military. There's a case called the Ferries case. It's called the Ferries Doctrine that says if you're an active duty service member, you cannot sue the government or the military.
Right.
So, which, and there's a lot of movement to try to do away with that. But so far, that's a non-starter.
Absolutely.
We've got some questions here. We've got a question from Alan. Alan had written in, my elderly father served in the military and now he's in a nursing home. Is he entitled to any VA benefits? Are you entitled to something just because you served?
Not just because you served, but there is this is a decent program for veterans, and it's a pension program. And it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's kind of a welfare program, but it kind of is. If there's if the income isn't great, if the assets aren't great, like for instance, I think for a VA pension you have to be over 65 or totally and permanently disabled or get Social Security benefits that way. You can apply for this pension, and here's kind of the kicker. You have to have served, if it's pre-September 1980, this kind of gets in the weeds, but pre-September 1980, if you served 1 day on active duty and you served for at least 90 days, you could qualify for this pension. After September 1980, they changed that to you have to serve 2 years, at least 1 day of which we were at a time of war. And the thing about that, you didn't have to be in combat. You could be stateside. You could be in Brooklyn at the Armory there, and you're fine.
Okay.
And the other thing was so that's something for people to look at. The VA about 3 years ago changed the asset transfer. It used to be, hey, if your threshold net worth was $150,000. It's now $150,000, and you can't transfer assets. There's a 3-year look-back period. I always tell folks, so just be careful if you're trying to do this for your elderly parent or loved one. Be careful about transferring assets to get there. But it's a pretty good program, and especially if the assets and the means aren't great.
So it sounds like somebody, if you're considering this as an option, what you need to do is be proactive and say, okay, one, do I qualify? Do
Right.
I meet these the basic agreements? And then at that point, then you can look at, okay, you know, if he's going to maybe go into a nursing home in 5 years or
Right.
10 years, I need to go ahead and make financial arrangements now so
Right.
that he'll qualify.
Right. So, but let's talk. So you're talking specifically about the transfer of assets,
Sure.
which, you know, I also come from the bankruptcy world and fraudulent conveyances and problems. I hate transferring assets, so
Oh, sure.
that makes me nervous. But yeah, but looking ahead and you know,
We can call it estate planning.
yeah,
How's that?
you could.
Okay, okay.
Do you need a lawyer to get through this process? Where in the process
Sure.
should you
That's
start
a
with
good
the
point.
lawyer?
No, not initially. You know, and there's so much information out there now, and the VA's got a very, you know, if we say they're slow, they at least have a very thorough the VA website, va.gov. It's got a lot of information. So, for instance, if you had a loved one in a nursing home, look it up. You know, see what, you know, you can figure out what his or her assets are. They're in the nursing home. They're over 65. They're disabled. And, you know, see what, you know, if you qualify, and you can put in for it. And that's the pension program that we're talking about is the least favorite of the VA. Now, it's the lesser favored VA benefit.
Okay. Okay, we got this one from Bill. Bill wrote in, I have a claim pending for my VA disability. It's been several years, but it seems like nothing's happening. Is there anything I can do to speed it up? You said some of these may take 10 years?
So yeah, short answer, unfortunately, to that is no. But, you know, and it is this hurry up and wait. And I don't know if you all know the acronym, I won't say it on air, it's SNAFU, right?
Yeah.
You've heard that? And it's from World War II, I believe, and you can figure out what it is.
Yes.
And that's kind of the VA to me. So it is just a long slog, you know, and the VA's response, you know, is, hey, we're doing everything we can, and, you know, we'll get to it when we get to it. We got a ton of claims. There's really nothing you can do to speed it up, but you can improve your claim. There are things you can do as far as, you know, make sure you keep everything you get. I have so many veterans that don't, they have page 1 of page 10. So they don't have every, I'm like, keep everything. Just get a box and everything VA related goes there. Not only what you get from the VA, but what you send to the VA.
Okay.
When you send stuff to the VA, send it there. There's an evidence intake center. You can fax it in. Also mail it by certified mail return receipt. Because I can't tell you the number of veterans I've had. Even if we send stuff, the VA says, well, we never got it. Oh, you got it from me because here's the green card where
Yeah.
I see where you got it.
Yeah.
And that can be very dangerous. I talked about the statute of limitations. If you miss a deadline with the VA, they use it against you forever. So it could be 10 years from now, hey, I've still got, for instance, sleep apnea that I got. Well, yeah, that's fine. You do have it, but you know, your claim died 10 years ago. Sorry. And that's pretty lousy.
All right.
Okay. We got this one in from Cheryl. Cheryl wrote, I think I have a claim for the VA, but I'm not sure. What do I do? How should I go about this?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what, you know, kind of the first step for anything these
Right.
days is look at the internet, right?
Right. Well, you know, the other thing I tell veterans, I don't believe in making up claims or telling veterans this is what I think your claim should be. You know, every veteran knows his or her issue, right? So, for instance, I was running one time, a long distance, hurt my knee. We had to walk back, and the guy I was running with wasn't happy. I could call him today and say, write me a statement that says, we were running together in El Paso at Fort Bliss. You fell, and it was goofy, and, you know, it was embarrassing, and you couldn't do PT for the next month or whatever. So there are things you can do. Get buddy statements. For instance, sleep apnea is a very favorite, and it's an attractive claim with the VA. You know, I tell folks, if you were in the field, if you were sleeping in tents or in a barracks, get your buddy to write a statement. Hey, the guy kept me up all the time. And I've done that successfully with a number of veterans. You know, a wife that while you were serving, hey, this guy, I couldn't sleep. This guy was always snoring, restless.
Yeah.
So, you know, stuff like that you can do. One other thing I'll say, which is really important, get a nexus letter from your doctor. So if you've got a doctor, and I always tell veterans, pay your doctor, right? Doctors, I guess like lawyers don't want to work for free, but pay your doctor, say, hey, here's my medical records. Can you say that, we'll stay on sleep apnea, that it is at least likely as not, and those are magical words in VA world.
At least likely as not.
That this veteran's sleep apnea was caused in service.
Okay.
Critical. You get those two things, buddy statements, a nexus letter, you're on your way to getting some benefits.
You're right.
Will they get back pay? So when you're saying it takes
Sure.
10 years.
There is back pay. So attractive. Yeah, so there is back pay, and sometimes it could be substantial. But the problem is, like I said earlier, if the claim dies because you missed a deadline, all that back pay goes away.
Oh.
So
no.
yeah, not attractive.
Okay.
So really staying on the deadlines,
Staying
making
on
sure
the
you're aware of
deadlines.
those is
And
important.
keep all your documents. I can't stress it enough. Just get a paper box, right? Just that box is the VA
Yeah.
box. Everything you send and everything you get goes in that box.
Okay.
You're right.
They're telling us to take a break. We're going to take a break and be right back answering more of your questions about VA claims, and we're going to get to security clearances. Stay with us.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call, where lawyers come to help. Your rights, your calls, live. Hosted by family law attorney Sharon Doviet. With the personal injury attorneys of one of the Valley's most respected law firms, Timberlake and League. Featuring the knowledge of managing partner Michael Timberlake, with millions of dollars awarded to his clients. And the experience of attorney Will League, a strong courtroom fighter known for his commitment to winning. And the fellow partners of Timberlake and League Heath Brooks and William Meservey. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're answering questions about VA claims and security clearances. We've got with us Michael Timberlake from Timberlake and League. They are personal injury attorneys, so everything from car crashes to medical malpractice. And we've got with us Ron Sixtus. He does VA claims, security clearances, and also bankruptcy if you need any of that too. So we've got questions written
Yeah, I
in.
mean, we talked a little bit about how these claims work out, and and you want to pay your doctor, make sure that you do that.
Right.
But also, if you're going to hire a lawyer in this situation, or are there non-lawyers that can help with this? I mean, how does the payment work in this situation?
Sure. The way lawyers work, the way I work is what the VA allows, and that is you get 20% of a veteran's back pay, nothing in the future, and that's it. And we were talking about the software before we started. All a veteran can be charged. It used to be $5 up until 1860. 1865, that amount moved up to $10. That's the upfront allowance. You can't charge a veteran more than that. And the rule is, or the thought is, hey, you don't want veterans being taken advantage of. There's a lot of folks out there now that are charging hourly rates, or you pay me, as we go. I don't do that. I mean, I think that's a dangerous game. There used to be criminal sanctions for that. They got rid of the criminal sanctions. I think they're going to come back. There's civil sanctions, certainly. So, I just be careful. If someone's asking you for money, to do your VA claim, there's a lot of places out there that don't, and that's the right way to do it. There's a bunch of good veteran service, what are called VSOs, veteran service organizations that do it. And so just be careful on what you're doing.
Yeah, there's no need to, don't jump into something and start paying, somebody that works on a big retainer or anything like that. That's not what you
No,
do.
I want to protect my law license, so that I have no interest in that.
Good.
We've got this question, security clearances. We want to talk about security clearance. Frida had written in, I'm filling out the form to get a security clearance, and I'm nervous about what I put down. I'm not sure if I should list some things from my past. I've heard this before. People saying, do I be honest?
Right.
And how honest do I need to be?
So,
Huntsville's got, this is all about our town.
it's a
We
big
got security
deal.
clearances everywhere. I've had people that I went to college with that I've gotten calls from the FBI saying, asking about, their behaviors, a long time ago,
Wow.
or whether they're trustworthy, this kind of thing. So these are hard to get,
right.
and really
hard to get, and when you have one, you can. That's what I tell our folks with clearances. When you have one, you can job hop all over the place, and that's we all know people here
Yeah.
job hopping. They're at a different company, once a year,
Yep.
once every 6 months. So yeah, it's really coveted, important to keep. But when you mention the FBI, just as an aside, I always tell folks, since we've got so many FBI jobs here and more coming,
Yeah.
guaranteed you're going to have a polygraph, guaranteed. So, that doesn't do much for me. And I've seen people mess up on polygraphs.
Okay.
And that can be problematic. But yeah, answering the form. So it's what's called the SF 86, Standard Form 86. That's the required document. It's 125 pages. It has got 5 pages of instructions. And it says, be honest. So the clearance system is predicated upon open and honest disclosure. If you lie on that form, if they catch you in a lie, people worry, well, am I going to get prosecuted? Because it says it's the 18 USC 1001, the lied to the government, 5 years in jail, up to $250,000 fine. I've never seen someone prosecuted, and I won't. But the punishment is you don't get your clearance and you don't get the job. And if you're ever caught lying on that form, you'll never get a clearance. It's not like you can overcome that, hey, I lied 10 years ago, but now I'm a good guy. So It won't happen again. So with that said, be open and honest, but don't just say, I use marijuana 100 times, thanks. I mean, even if that's the case, then say, but I've learned my lesson, I don't do drugs, I'm willing to take random drug tests as required. There are ways to mitigate it, and the government knows that for all these behaviors they could have concerns with, there are ways to mitigate it. I had a DUI, or I had multiple DUIs. I'm in recovery. Go to AA. There are things you can do. So don't be. And the other thing, I see people be sloppy on the form, or hey, I'm real busy. This is not the time you want to rush.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, be honest.
Do your due diligence. Make sure you do your homework, and then make sure it's accurate.
Yes. And the other thing I tell folks, if you're putting in for a security clearance, every organization has what's called a facility security officer, and they're kind of they oversee all the security. So don't go to the FSO and say, hey, I didn't tell you about the drugs I did while holding a clearance or wanting a clearance. So don't say that, because you put a burden on that person. They're going to report that. I always tell folks, get a lawyer, that's someone that you have an attorney-client relationship with, that it's just between you and your lawyer, so you can at least figure out the approach before you commit.
Okay. All right, we got this one from Glenn. Glenn says, my clearance was denied by the government years ago. Is that permanent, or can I accept a great job that's been offered to me that will require a clearance? Are you saying if he didn't get it, he's done?
No, that's if you lied.
Okay.
You can
That's
still
different.
put in for
Okay.
it.
Right.
You can still put in for it. I think you got a tough road. But if you, for instance, if you had an alcohol issue years ago and didn't get the clearance, you have to wait 1 year from the time of that denial, and then you can reapply. But here's how the reapplication works. You actually write to the government, to the Department of Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals in Arlington, Virginia, and they say, what's changed? Why should we give you a clearance now? And that's doable. So, staying with the alcohol issue, I'm an alcoholic, I have the disease of addiction, now I'm sober, I attend AA, I attend 4 times a week, I've got a sponsor, things are different. If it was a debt situation, same thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Great.
How about this one from Hal? Hal says, I have a security clearance, but I have some debts that are past due. Could I lose my security clearance because of my debts? Do they take that seriously?
Yeah, things that happen after
Right.
you get your clearance is the main thing that we see, or people talk about, are DUIs. They always want to spend as much money as they can to see if they can get off of a DUI. What are the other things that can get it revoked?
And to that point, Michael, you pay the top dollar here to get your DUI dismissed. You still have to disclose it on this form. If you don't, goodbye clearance or no clearance. You still have to disclose it. And the government still, I've had hearings in front of administrative judges where they ask, so you had this case dismissed, tell me, you're under oath here, were you drunk? So what are you going to say? And
Can't take the fifth.
Right. So yeah, there are other issues. We talked alcohol, drugs, personality or psychological issues. I've seen bipolar is kind of a thing in the last 3 years that the government focuses on. If someone is bipolar or has some mental issues, they send them to a DOD psychologist, and believe me, I've never seen the DOD paid for psychologist say, hey, this person's in great shape, no worry here. It's exactly the opposite. But going back to the debt question, debts are the #1 reason why people have their clearance either denied at the outset, that they don't get a clearance, or pulled. the government, they have put everyone under what's called a continuous evaluation now. So what that is, you have to fill this form out, the SF-86 I was talking about. For a secret clearance, you fill it out every 10 years. For a TS clearance, every 5 years. So it used to be, up until a couple of years ago, that the government, if you had bad debts, they're not going to know about it until you fill the form out again, right?
Yeah.
So you probably got a 10-year period if you had a secret clearance. No longer. Now they have access to your credit report, and with AI, they're looking at it all the time. Wow. So if you're hit with a lawsuit or they just see you're behind on your debts, you got a problem now, and you better report it. That's the other part of it. But with debts, I mean, there are things you can do. I mean, and it's the number one reason why people lose clearances. It's also the easiest one to fix.
Okay,
right.
They're telling us to take a break. We'll be right back. We've still got more information coming, but if we don't get your questions answered, here's how to get in touch with Ron Sixtus with Bond and Botus. The number in Huntsville, 256-713-0221. Also check out R Sixtus, SYKSTUS, at bondinbotus.com. Also check out www.securityclearancedefenselawyer.com. Here's how to get in touch with Michael Timberlake with Timberlake & League. They are personal injury attorneys, so everything from car accidents to medical malpractice. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website law-injury.com. And if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And Sharon's a practicing family law attorney here in Huntsville. She does child support, divorce, child custody, those types of things. 256-539-7337. She can be found at SharonFamilyLaw.com.
All right, one more question. Do we have time for one more?
Sure.
What you got?
So if the government's trying to revoke your clearance
Right.
and you get the notice of that, what should you do?
Yeah, you've got to act fast. So if you get this notice, it's called a statement of reasons to revoke a clearance. You've got to answer that. And again, I tell folks, answer it in great detail. Don't be flippant about it. And then, but if you get a statement of reasons, chances are you'll probably get to a hearing before an administrative judge. So you have one of two ways to do this. You can just submit a paper case, hey, don't take my clearance. I've never seen someone keep a clearance if they're at that point. Request a hearing before a judge. I say that with absolute 100% certainty.
Yeah, and is that something that you be proactive on? Go ahead and talk to a lawyer about the situation ahead of time?
I think you should, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you get that statement of reasons, because answer it right. If you go to a hearing before the judge, I'll just say this very quickly. These judges are all out of Arlington, Virginia. They're good people. Most of them are prior service, prior military. And they're older, they've got families, they've seen real world, so older like my buddy Michael, but
right.
or myself, but they're real world people, and I like a lot of these judges. So you stand a good shot as long as you weren't caught in a lie.
Yeah, you
Good
go.
deal.
Great.
Thanks for all your questions tonight, and we'll see you next week.